And we'll get okay. Well, thank you everybody for joining W Nourish, our session Healthy Eating Foundations. I'm Kirby Bransford, and I'm joined by my wonderful colleague and dear friend, Marda Human, and we're both members of the nutrition team, both registered dietitians, and just unbelievably excited to share all of what we love about healthy eating with you all today. So this is class one of several classes, and we're actually going to go through that timeline with you in just a few moments here. Today, we're going to really be focusing on our philosophy, our healthy eating guidelines, and some foundational things to get started. Before we do get started, please note that any of our information provided during this program is for educational purposes only. It's not intended as a substitute or a replacement for any of the medical advice you might receive, medical nutrition therapy, or individualized nutrition counseling. But we do hope that maybe this could complement those conversations that you have with your healthcare team, and maybe even prompt you to ask some questions to really enhance your health further. So with that, let me extend a warm welcome to you all. This is Healthy Eating Foundation. So let us first just kind of review what this all is going to look like during our time together and what our goals are today. The objectives of this session in particular are for you to learn the basics about foods and habits that support good health. Now, we know that a lot of folks that are joining us have maybe heard some of this before, and we do believe that repetition can't do any harm, but for many of you, it might be new, and we're excited to share that with folks that aren't aware of that. And so we're really going to be focusing on foods and habits. And we do want to really help you to gain awareness of all of the resources that we have, and also to get inspiration from each other to help to support your healthy eating journey. We really want this to feel like a community where we can all support each other, give each other ideas, really kind of motivate and inspire. So that's really a key objective as well. And we do hope that during our time together, everybody adopts at least one new habit, or at least starts on your path to developing a habit through simple, small steps that you might take that's going to support your healthy eating goals. So while we do think this is great, kind of back pocket stuff, if you want to just kind of learn something new, our hope really is that you'll take some action based on what you learned during our time together. So for week one, let's get started with a few items here. First, starting with some housekeeping. So during our live classes, we do hope that you'll kind of keep your videos on and feel really free to kind of be together like we're in a room together, staying muted unless you do have a question or if we ask you to kind of share something. But we do definitely welcome and encourage folks to be on camera and to kind of be with us virtually in that way. And in terms of asking questions and what to expect through our Healthy platform. So you all are joining us through the Healthy platform. If you do have questions at any point after we're not in the live class, we are going to utilize the chat function of Healthy, and I'll kind of go through that a little bit more at the end. But we'll start a group chat with you all tonight, and that's where we can maybe start some conversations if you do have any questions outside of including the stuff that we are sharing during our time together, but also if you have any logistic issues as well. Also within Healthy, you're going to find the modules, which are really going to be what you see on the side there. Each week of our class, we're going to have recorded videos, including the recording of tonight's session. So you'll find those modules along with some optional modules. So anything that's recorded or meant to be our weekly content that you'll find there. In addition to that, in the documents section, you're going to find any of the documents that we reference. So that's going to be things like what to expect document that I think many of you have already received, instructions for accessing the live classes. You'll find a goal setting worksheet in there that I'll review in a little bit, as well as a resource list that we've created to help you kind of navigate some of our online resources. So that's it for kind of the housekeeping piece of it. And if you do have any questions at the end, we'll be happy to help you with those. And then today we're going to give you an overview of our healthy eating philosophy. So what we believe about healthy eating. We're going to take a deep dive into our healthy eating guidelines and then talk a little bit about setting personal goals. So with all of that being said, let's actually get started with all of the great stuff that we want to share with you, starting with our healthy eating philosophy. Now, if this is new to you, we actually put this on our website, I want to say 2.5 to 3 years ago. It really kind of articulated what our team actually believes healthy eating is. And that is, we believe healthy eating is about nourishing your body and mind. So, really out the gate there, recognizing that healthy eating is about physical health as well as emotional health. So, we really want to recognize that. And we do that with foods that support health, fuel our movement, honor your cultures and traditions, and make you happy. And we're actually going to explore each of those bullets in a moment. But really, I think of this as a touchstone. So anytime you're questioning, is a pattern of eating right for me? Coming back to this and asking yourself, is it not doing one of these things? Is it doing one of these things? So kind of checking both sides of that. So is it supporting my health? Is it helping me to fuel my movement? Does it make me feel like I'm honoring who I am through food? And is it making me happy? And equally as important, is it making me unhappy? Because again, as that kind of tethering point to come back to, if it's not doing these things, there's probably a little tension there that you want to resolve through making some simple changes. And each one of these bullets is very important. Some of them might be more important to us at any given time in our life or during a stage of life. They're all equally important, and it's really important to understand kind of what each of these means and how you'll achieve those through food. And that's what we'll go through in a moment here. And also important to note is that it's going to look different for each of us. Marda and I both eat, I think, fairly healthfully, but we don't eat the same way. Marda's like all about cereal. And I mean, she loves her cereal, and I love cereal too, but I don't think it's to the extent that Marda loves it. So that really works for her and it supports her health. And I also have things in my pattern of eating that support my health, and it's going to be different. So this is the same. So if you hear somebody say, like, I'm doing this and it's really working for me, doesn't mean it has to work for you. And it will, we have here, it often changes over time. It does change over time, because I'm telling you right now, what worked for me when I was 18 does not work for me today at 41, almost 42. So that just is, and it's okay. And I think that can help us to understand that as we evolve, so might our pattern of eating, and that's perfectly fine and to be expected. And of course, we can't get away without a little bit of alliteration here. It's going to be fun, flexible, and full of flavor. We really do believe that food should be enjoyable. It should be flexible. It should meet your needs at any given time. You shouldn't feel a ton of restriction or really any restriction. And it can be delicious. I mean, goodness, we work at Wegmans. We believe in exceptional, delicious, flavorful food. And we absolutely can achieve our health goals through food with things that taste good. So let's take a look at each one of these bullets so you kind of understand a little bit more what we mean by each of them. Lots of different ways to think about supporting your physical health and emotional health through food, but really based on decades of research and our own experience, we believe that a plant-forward pattern of eating is a great starting place. It's a great foundation for pretty much anyone. This is because it's been shown to reduce the risk for disease and promote overall health. So we're saying that when folks eat a plant-forward pattern of eating, we see lower incidences and risks of type 2 diabetes, things like depression, heart disease, certain cancers, and at the same time, increased longevity. So living longer, better quality of life through food. And that really doesn't mean that you have to only eat plants. It really means that you're going to be building your meals around plant foods. So the ones that you see here, your fruits, your vegetables, grains, emphasizing whole grains when you can, nuts, seeds, and legumes. And really, for most people, we're looking for these to be, whole. We sometimes say minimally processed, but really we're looking to make sure that we're not having a lot of foods with a lot of added ingredients that we don't need, added sugars, added sodium, saturated fat. So, and again, some of that will be personalized based on your own nutrient needs, but we're really just looking to build our eating pattern and our meals and our snacks around these foods. And it does really mean, any fruit, vegetable, grain, etc., that you enjoy. If that's iceberg lettuce, I will defend iceberg lettuce to the bitter end. If that's the one that you love, that's wonderful. You don't have to eat kale. I feel like a lot of people think that you have to choose, better choices within these groups. But really, however you can meet these food group goals is the best way for you. So we want to personalize it to your own preferences. So again, like I said, it's about emphasizing these foods it's not really about excluding any food. So it doesn't, you can still enjoy meat, seafood, dairy if you so choose. And we don't really have a list of foods that are going to be restricted with this. There's nothing that you're like not allowed to eat and say, well, it's no longer plant forward, as long as what you're doing is really having these foods in heavy rotation and they make up the, kind of the bulk of what you eat. And so in a couple of weeks, we're actually going to be exploring a habit that will help you bring plant forward eating to life. But just know that as you do that, as you eat more plants, you're getting all that plants have to offer. And so there's a variety of nutrients, there's vitamins, minerals, antioxidants. They're also the sole source of fiber. And again, we're going to talk a little bit more about this when we talk about that habit in a few weeks. And you'll see that we really believe that these are the foundation of the, most widely recognized healthy eating patterns across the globe. So anywhere that you find a eating pattern that's plant forward, whether it's Mediterranean or if it's, somebody that's practicing the DASH diet or the DASH diet eating pattern, these are all plant forward, and there are multiple ways to eat plant forward that can support health. So when we think about what do I eat to support health, simplest answer is really kind of these plant foods. So that's what we mean by this. And in a few slides, Marta is actually going to take a deeper dive into what this looks like kind of in practice. So that's our first bullet. Second one is eating to fuel movement. Now, eating for physical activity and performance, that's like a big topic. It's actually a specialty within our field of dietetics. There's sports dietitians who specialize in this because it's very highly individualized. But when we think about it in kind of basic terms, what you need to fuel whatever movement is joyful for you, meaning you have enough energy before your activity, during it, you're not totally fatigued afterwards, and you have enough of the stuff that you need for recovery. That's what we mean by fueling movement. So to do that, I know this is a very basic, simplistic look at it, but this is really what it comes down to is the basics. We need our carbohydrate foods. So these are going to be the plant foods that we talked about, like your, your fruits, some of the plant foods, the fruits, your starchy veg, your grains, in addition to things like dairy, milk, and yogurt. Those are going to give you carbohydrates. That gets broken down into glucose. That's our body's friend. It's our preferred energy source. So when we are involved in movement, our body always wants glucose. And in fact, if you don't have enough of those, it's going to try to make it out of other things. And it's not the most ideal circumstance. So we want our carbohydrate foods. We also want protein food. So that's going to be your meat, poultry, eggs, dairy, seafood, or if you're a vegetarian, that's going to be your soy, your beans, and legumes. All of these foods get broken down into amino acids, which you may have heard of. They are the building blocks of protein in the body, so that's going to support muscle repair and growth. And so very important to have those as well. And then in addition to all of our plants, we really want to make sure that those fruits and veggies are getting a place on the plate, especially for activity. They provide, in addition to all the wonderful things that they provide, antioxidants. They're a really great source of antioxidants. And those antioxidants help to repair damage that can happen during activity. Very normal part of activity, but we like to have those things on board to kind of repair and grow. And then, of course, hydration is going to be key. So getting your healthy hydration through, water is ideal, although for movement, there are some circumstances where you might want some other hydration sources. And we do have some really great information on that online. And I'm going to mention that in just a minute. But our hydration is going to prevent things like fatigue and muscle cramping. So all of these things are going to kind of work in concert together to fuel your movement. And we want to have those in addition to that plant forward foundation, ensuring that these guys have a place regularly, especially if you're about to go embark in some activity. And I will mention that on wegmans.com/eatlikeapro, we have a bit more guidance on this. So if you're really thinking about what types of foods are good for during, before, during, and after, as well as some information on that healthy hydration, you'll find it there. So that's fueling movement. Now, the last one I kind of combine honoring our cultures and traditions and eating foods that make us happy, because the reason that we do these things is kind of the same for both. So there's just so much overlap here. Now, when we think about cultures and traditions, yes, it absolutely means, thinking about cultural cuisines, traditional foods that might be part of your heritage, but it also could be, family traditions. So, or friend traditions. Maybe it's going out for Friday night pizza. In my family, my boys and I have a tradition every fall. We always go out for apple cider donuts. Like the minute they're available, even if it's like, still technically summer, we are out there having our donuts. It's really important to us. It's something we look forward to. And when we say here that, heritage and preference is important to our sense of self, that's kind of like how I think of myself as a mom, right? Like I'm the mom that brings my boys to get their donuts, and it's creating these family memories. But we point this out because a lot of times food traditions and food preferences, like that donut that I talked about, or maybe white rice, they are often considered unhealthy, or people might say that there's a better choice. But in the case of like white rice feeds the world. And so our guidance and guidance of others outside of us, other experts, is really to think of these foods as, in the case of rice, having a whole grain when culturally appropriate. So when we think about the foods that are important to us, is it important to us to have the, healthier version, or is it important to us? Do we know that we have something that deeply rooted in us that's important to us to enjoy these cultural, traditional foods that are part of our family or our heritage? Because we want to remove some judgment around that. We really want to make sure that folks realize that those foods are, part of an overall pattern of eating. We're not doing them in isolation, and there can be space for all of these things. And we also know how important it is to have these foods because they connect us with others. And we used to try to, really explain how important it was to connect around food, but I think we all lived that experience during COVID. I almost shudder to bring it up because it was just such a, difficult time for everybody. But it was so clear that when one of the things that came out of that was people were having like Zoom dinners, with family, they realized how important those shared meals were, because that connection, the chance to be with each other and to connect around food is the great uniter. And I will say, to some extent, it really just doesn't matter what you're eating, right? If it's bringing you together. So again, it connects us with others and really helps you to have some emotional health around food, regardless of what is actually on the plate. Now, when you have that space for your culturally and emotionally important foods, that's also going to reduce some of your stress around food. So we're kind of dripping that hoping that judgment will kind of drip away, reducing stress. That can have a very physiological benefit to folks. We're reducing stress, we're reducing anxiety, and at the same time, maybe even increasing happiness hormones. And there is a real physical and emotional benefit to doing this. So really reducing stress and allowing the foods that are important to you without saying, oh my goodness, I feel, shame or guilt from having had this, is incredibly important to healthy eating. And when we do that, we create this space. We're clearing the way for something really important, which is the ability to tune into your body cues. When you get rid of that noise, so that chatter in your head of I should or I shouldn't be having this, that helps to clear some space for you to actually hear what your own body wants or needs, for you to actually know, like, what am I, what am I feeling nourished by this food? Maybe it makes you realize that there might be certain foods that you've just been eating out of habit because they're a part of a tradition, and maybe they don't make you feel nourished anymore. Regardless of what you discover, when you just allow yourself to enjoy these foods because they're important to you for these reasons, you'll be able to get rid of the judgment that might have been in the way, might have been a barrier to you discovering what actually nourished you. And so we think that's just a really wonderful thing to be able to do. So healthy eating is about including these foods. It's an important piece because it's about emotion. It's about our relationship to food. But we think about it as a piece of that larger puzzle of the different bullets that we talked about. So supporting health and fueling movement and enjoying these foods, they're all important. So it's not one more than the other. We just want to make sure we don't lose sight of this very important piece, because this is kind of that emotional health piece of it. So healthy eating, it's about supporting your health through a plant-forward pattern of eating that's going to fuel your movement, going to honor your cultures and traditions, and it's going to make you happy. Everything we teach, everything we share from this point on is done with these bullets in mind. And we'll always come back to this. I'll come back to this. Marta will come back to this just as a check. Like, is this really achieving these things? And we encourage you to do that too. This can be your touchstone. Is it achieving these things for me? And if not, what can I change to make sure that it does? So now this is great, right? Sounds super lovely. How do you do all of this? How do you go and like turn the switch on? So I'm going to turn it over to Marta. She's going to review a really great starting point for building a pattern of eating that's going to help you make this happen. So over to you, my friend.
Thank you. And by the way, I have eaten cereal every single day of my life since I was born almost. So I have not changed my eating habits at all when it comes to cereal.
I love it.
I just eat more healthy cereal these days. Okay, so healthy eating guidelines. These, if you've been on in our classes before, you've definitely seen these. And even if you haven't been, you might have seen them because we have had these available for many years. And you have them in your healthy platform. So take a look at them, print them out if you want to, and put them on your fridge. I think they're beautiful and they make good fridge art. So these guidelines were developed by the Wegmans nutrition team. They're based on the U.S. dietary guidelines. These are guidelines that are set up by the USDA to help us eat healthier and to prevent chronic disease. And they come out every 5 years. This is the last year of the period, so we're going to be getting some new ones next year. And of course, the Mediterranean diet, which is just an overall pattern of eating with more plants, like Kirby has been talking about, this plant-forward way of eating with a little bit of fish thrown in and some other foods to balance it out. Now, the overview of it is they're foods that support your overall health, and there's daily and weekly recommendations. So that front page that you see there with the pictures of the food, I'm going to go over those individually, but just as a snapshot, it's giving you the food groups and telling you, or the food categories really, and telling you a little bit about them. And then the back side of the guidelines gives you the food group again, and also how many servings of that food category you should eat and what a serving size is. So it's quite handy. If you want to click, Kirby.
Yep. I'm trying. There we go. Oh, there you go.
They're not restrictive. You'll notice that we don't ever really talk about restricting food. The only reason you shouldn't eat a food is if you're allergic to it or don't tolerate it or you don't like it. If it's poison of some way, then please don't eat it. But otherwise, we really want people to eat what they want to eat and eat the foods that you love that maybe are outside these guidelines, but you love them and maybe eat them in moderation. They can also be modified as necessary. So for instance, if you have celiac disease and you need to cut out gluten, you can modify. If you have diabetes, you can modify, that sort of thing. That's what we mean by that. Okay, so now I'm going to get into I'm going to zoom in on the guidelines. Fruits and veggies. Kirby's already talked about how important those are. Plants are the only place we get fiber, and most of us are not eating enough fiber. So it's one of the reasons we would recommend getting lots of plants in a day because of the fiber, all the other nutrients that are in them too, but fiber is really important. So for fruits and veggies, 5 servings a day. Try to aim for variety, maybe not necessarily variety within a day, but at least a variety throughout the week. The different colors, if you can get, a bunch of different colors in a week's time, that's amazing. And then all forms count: frozen, fresh, canned, dried. You maybe heard me say before that I love frozen vegetables. I have frozen vegetables most of the time. I eat more fresh in the summer, but they're just convenient. And if you like them, whichever form you like, that's the ones you should eat. And try to stick to the ones that are less processed, so they don't have a bunch of seasoning on them and salt and saturated fat added, or in the case of fruit, if they've got sugar syrups and that sort of thing. And then half plate healthy, that is what we're going to do here. We're going to take our plate and we're going to think about it in sections. So if we fill half our plate with fruits and vegetables and then put a little bit of protein and a little bit of whole grain on the other side, then we're balancing our plate. And we're automatically, if we're doing this at each meal, we're automatically getting our 5 servings of fruits and vegetables without even really having to think about it. Next up is whole grains, I believe. Yes, 3 servings a day of whole grains. Make half your grains whole, we like to say. I eat wheat Chex every day, and 1 cup of wheat Chex is 3 servings of whole grains. So I get mine at breakfast. This is another reason I eat cereal. But anyways, you can do simple swaps. You can do a refined grain cereal for a whole grain cereal. You could do the white rice for brown rice sometimes. white rice for quinoa, sometimes white bread for whole grain bread, that sort of thing. Just you don't necessarily have to do it every time, but just sometimes, and something to be aware of, that you want to get at least 3 servings of whole grains a day. And I'm not going to get into the serving sizes on any of these now because that's going to take too long, but it's on the guideline sheet. Next up is nuts and seeds, a handful most days. And people often ask us, which kind of nut, which one's the best one? The best one's the one you eat, okay? It's where they have different virtues. Walnuts, for example, are the ones that have omega-3s. The other nuts have very little, if any, omega-3. So if you're trying to up that healthy fat, the one that's omega-3 is a type of fat that's good for your heart. Walnuts is a way to go. If you like all of the nuts or most of the nuts, then I say do a mixed nut. That's usually what I recommend. That's what I eat, is mixed nuts. I put it on top of my yogurt. You can put it in your oatmeal, in a salad, in your stir fry, hot or cold bowls like a grain bowl or an Asian bowl. Again, eat what you enjoy. Dairy and fortified soy alternatives. So 3 servings of those a day. Yogurt, milk, cottage cheese, and ice cream even counts as a dairy. Maybe we wouldn't do that all 3 servings each day, but sometimes a nice bowl of ice cream and you can know that it's fitting into your dairy group. And then soy alternatives, like soy milk, soy yogurt, that sort of thing. That's also part of the dairy. And I do want to point out that almond milk, oat milk, rice, all the other kind of alternative milks, they do not count as a dairy group. If you like them and you're drinking them, that's great. Just know that they don't count as the dairy. For lean meat, poultry, eggs, and meat alternatives, 5 servings of those a day. Want to get a variety of animal and plant sources. So if you're eating animal sources of protein, if you're not vegan or you're not vegetarian, or maybe you're vegetarian, you have some eggs and milk perhaps, but try to maybe have like a meatless Monday, or pick another day where you're not going to have any animal protein that day. That's a way to get more animal protein, plant protein in. And as far as how much protein we need, it's very individualized, but we like to talk about that sweet spot of 20 to 30 grams per meal. And if you would need even more protein, for a variety of reasons, you may need more, then you could even have 20 or 30 at your snack as well. And we say that because it's better if you spread your protein out during through the whole day, instead of concentrating it all in one meal. A lot of times people will concentrate it in the evening meal. So just try to do it throughout the day. That was good. Next up are the beans, peas, and lentils. 3 servings of those per week, not per day. We don't eat enough beans. That Mediterranean diet, in the Mediterranean area, they eat a lot of beans. Like, they probably eat beans every day. And there are a lot of cultures in the world that eat beans every day. There's good fiber in them. There's a little bit of protein. There's carbohydrates. There's just a lot of reasons to eat more beans. The ways you can eat them is just add them to things. Even if the recipe doesn't call for beans, I'm often going to put beans in salads, bowls like grain. If I make a lot of bowls, I do grain bowls or Asian bowls, burrito bowls, that's kind of thing, and I always put beans in them. Sometimes it's edamame, which is also a kind of bean. It's a soybean. Soups, add beans into your soup, and whichever kind you like the best. You can mix them in with cooked greens, and of course hummus is made from chickpeas, so you can use that as a dip or a condiment. And if you haven't ever tried hummus as a condiment, like instead of using mayonnaise, use it as a condiment on your sandwich, it's really delicious. I don't eat a lot of sandwiches, but if I get a craving for one, I'm bummed out if I don't have any hummus to use as my condiment. Next up is seafood. So 2 servings a week. All kinds count, whichever one is your favorite. The fattier fishes like salmon and mackerel, herring, tuna, they have more omega-3s than the other fish. So again, that's that heart healthy fat that we try to get a couple servings of that a week. A can or a pouch is really good for convenience. I like to have pouches or cans on hand. So if I have a green salad for lunch, I can throw a can or a pouch of tuna on there, or even salmon. It's quite delicious as well, just to make it easy. For liquid oils, we would like to use that instead of solid fat, and I mean solid fat butter. I know most of us don't use lard anymore, but we always say instead of lard, use liquid oil. Now we can maybe say beef tallow because that's getting more popular on social media. So those solid fats are more saturated or heart unhealthy. So the liquid oils, the ones that are liquids at room temperature, those are healthier for your heart and for your soul too, oils. So pick oils that meet your taste. So like remember olive oil, there's a bunch of different kinds of olive oil. Some taste a little peppery, some don't have any flavor at all. So, try them and see which one you like the best. Cooking, when we say cooking, we mean that some oils have a higher smoke point, which means you can fry in them. For example, peanut oil is something that often people fry in because it can get really hot without burning the aromatics off. But that's something for trial and error. And also you want to do what meets your budget. Some are, more pricey than others. So give those, might be something to consider. And then finally, water. We would love to be able to tell you to drink X amount of glasses of water every day because that's what people want to hear. But really, it's up to individuals. You may need more water than I do, vice versa. But most adults can use thirst as their guide. If you're a healthy adult, if you're thirsty, definitely drink water. But please know that it isn't only water that can hydrate you. Unsweetened juices, coffees and teas, unsweetened can hydrate you. Milk is a hydrator, that sort of thing. You just really want to limit or avoid having too many added sugars added to your beverages. So I think that's the last one. It must be. Nothing else fits on that slide. So again, this is something to think about. Go and look it up on Healthy to, take a look at it. And when you have more time, you can see what the serving sizes are in that. But this is a good overview and a way to start eating a little more half plate healthy and get started.
Awesome. Thank you, Marta. And it's like Pavlovian. You said, started talking about water and I grabbed my water. And of course, I almost spilled it all over myself. So crisis averted, but yes, we could all drink when we're thirsty, which I just did. And thank you so much for going over these. And in just a minute, we're going to shift to the next piece of this, which is going to be setting personal goals. So keeping in mind right now, we've gone over this philosophy that's kind of our bedrock of everything that we teach and we believe. And then there's a way to start bringing it to life. But as you've heard both of us say now, this is a starting point. It's meant to be flexible. This is to get the ball rolling or to add on to wherever you are in your journey and to help you to maybe identify where there might be things you can shore up. If you have questions about some of these foods and how much you're supposed to get, this is meant to be, again, foundational stuff to get you going or to kind of reignite that fire for your health journey. So now when we think about taking this and kind of plugging it into what you're going to do next, let's think about setting personal goals. So our foundation or our health eating foundations, we shared at the beginning, the objectives. So you could set a personal goal based on one of these objectives, just for our time together to say, I'm going to do at least one of these things. And not that this has to be, super formal, but start thinking about what is your goal for our time together and how are you going to put that into action? And to start thinking about as we move through these weeks, is there a small weekly step that you can do that will support one of these objectives? Because what we find here at Wegmans and in the behavior change community at large is that it's these little steps that lead to the big change. Nobody jumps to the top of a ladder to get to the roof of the house, right? You start at the bottom, you build your foundation, and then you take steps around the rungs of the ladder. So please keep that in mind that this, health is a journey that it will ebb and it will flow. And during this time to think about those small steps that you could take each week that maybe help you address barriers to where you want to be. Now, if you want to make this a little bit more formal and to really kind of hold yourself accountable, we do have some additional optional goal setting material in the Healthy platform. There you're going to find a video tutorial, which I think you should all have access to now. I think I saw it get unlocked this afternoon. So there's a video there that will kind of walk you through the whole concept of goal setting, key things to keep in mind, as well as a goal setting worksheet. I kind of review that in a video that I did. And that worksheet is on Healthy. So if you don't want to look at the video, but you just want to see the worksheet, you could do that. Or you can just simply reflect. You could jot it down in a journal. You can do whatever works for you, but really, as we said, one of our objectives is to get you to do something new because of what you learned here. And the best way to do that is to set a goal for yourself and to kind of have a roadmap to your own success. So that's our hope for you. What's going to happen next? There is like a lot that's going to happen next. We have a lot of things that you can expect. But first of all, each week we're going to have these calls to action. I think sometimes we call them to do, but really we're going to give you some ideas for the simple steps to take that are going to help you build on the content you learn. So calls to action this week, things that you might think about doing is simply to explore more about our philosophy and our healthy eating guidelines. You can find, again, in those documents on healthy, you can find our resource list and how to access these. And by explore, I mean, go look at it online. Think about it, talk about it, kind of reflect on it, and take a look at those healthy eating guidelines and kind of just reflect kind of where am I at? Or in looking at the philosophy, is there anything I'm doing that doesn't feel like it's really in concert with this idea? You could identify a personal goal for the season. So after tonight, before next week, can you maybe map out what is your goal and how are you going to get there? Or you could simply look at those healthy eating guidelines. I say simply, I mean, I know it's not necessarily simple, but selecting a food group could maybe be simple. Is there a food group when you look at the healthy eating guidelines and you see what the recommended servings are, either daily or weekly, that you know you're not meeting those goals and you feel like you want to work on it? So is it fruits and veggies? Do you want to try to get more seafood? Have you always kind of struggled with getting more seafood? Just simply pick that food group that you want to work on and figure out a step each week that you might take to help work towards that goal. So those are our calls to action for this week. Look at those things online, pick a goal or pick a food group, do all three, whatever kind of floats your boat, but our hope is that everybody kind of does a little something. Next, what to expect is that chat I mentioned early on. At the bottom of your healthy screen and the platform, you should see a little bubble that says chat. After tonight, I am going to start our group chat. And you're going to find all sorts of stuff in there. So we're going to be using that for a couple of things that I'm also going to mention in a minute. But our great hope is that you're going to chat with each other. Again, we want to establish a community here where we can learn from each other, be inspired by each other, ask questions, share successes, share challenges, whatever it is that you would like to and feel comfortable sharing. But we're going to start that group chat tonight, and that's where you can go to share any stories that you want to. It's also where you can go ahead and ask any of those questions that you might have about the content or about, if you have any logistical issues. So that's the chat. Recipes. Every time we do something, right, Marta, people want recipes. So we won't forget that. Starting tonight, we'll start giving you some ideas for recipes. Recipes are a great way to help working on getting more food groups because they get you excited about food and having something to inspire you that you look forward to eating to help you maybe eat more beans, eat more seafood. We know that recipes are one really great way to do that. So tonight, and I can't see the list of the ones that I actually wrote out, Marta, but there was an orecchiette recipe that you had picked. I think a veggie spaghetti recipe. And I'm sorry, I have it written down, but I can't actually see it with my view. There's a Tuscan beans and basil pesto and mushrooms that our whole team loves. I make it probably, I won't tell you how many times I make it, just all the time because it helps me to eat more beans and greens. And we'll also share in that chat just the idea of looking at some of our non-pizza recipes on Wegmans.com. So we'll put those recipes in the chat so that you can start to see how we might use food and recipes to start practicing what we're teaching. And the optional videos. So I mentioned that there's the goal setting video there. Also, what you'll find starting tomorrow, so the goal setting video is available now. Starting tomorrow, there's going to be a bunch of other optional videos for you to watch about specifically shopping for fruits and veggies. We know that folks don't get enough fruits and veggies. And part of that barrier is that they go to shop for them and we're paralyzed by, indecision or too many options. And we really wanted to help folks just shop for fruits and veggies to get started. So you'll find some of those videos there as well if you want that help.
Hey, Kirby, I want to say those are really short too. Those are like a minute, 2 minutes long. So they're not a big time taker-upper.
Yes, thank you so much. The goal setting one is a little bit longer. I think it's like 12 minutes or something. And then the shopping videos are all less than 2 minutes, if not less than, I don't know, 90 seconds. So thank you. There's also a survey that's going to be live tonight, I think. This is really important to us, and hopefully to you as well, because I think that you all saw that this group was kind of selected because we really value your feedback. You've either been involved with us before, if you've expressed interest in working with our team, and your feedback truly is so important to us. And at the same time, we want to continue to create programs that are meaningful. The best way we can do that is to see how we're doing. So we'll have a survey that that's happening at the beginning of the program and again at the end. So it is optional, but we really hope folks will fill that out for us, because it's monumentally helpful in moving some of this programming forward. And it also is one of the ways that you can enter for an additional chance to win one of our 3 Wegmans gift cards. So we will have 3 $25 gift cards that we're going to give to 3 lucky winners. Lots of different ways to enter to win. So first thing, to get entered to win, you have to complete all of the required modules, which are the ones that you see on the side right now. So you'll have either participated live tonight or watched the recording, and then watching the recordings of weeks 2, 3, and 4, and then joining us or watching the recording of week 5. If you join us for all of that, you're entered. That's one chance to enter. Additionally, if you fill out the survey, the pre-survey and the post-survey, that's 2 more chances to win. If you watch any of those optional videos, every video you watch is an additional chance to win. And just to keep it fun and keep people on their toes and keep the, things rocking and rolling, in that chat, we're also going to be sending out challenges for a few of the weeks. So Marda or I are going to put into the chat, here's a challenge. If you complete this challenge, you'll be entered for another chance to win. And those challenges, for a couple of them, we're going to be asking for a photo of something. We don't tell you what yet, but also for a statement or a sentence, kind of a description to attach with that. And the reason we're asking for a photo and for a little description from you is that we want to understand kind of what went into some of these actions that you're taking. So for others to hear part of your story, it's really wildly inspiring. It can help people know that they're kind of thinking the same way, or it can give people a chance to reflect on how, if something worked for you, how it might work for them. So you'll see that we'll kind of put a few of those in the chat as well. So lots of chances to win, trying to keep it fun, trying to keep it meaningful for folks. And hopefully at the end, you'll have participated in some of these things and really kind of enhanced your experience with us. So the next thing that will happen, we're going to wrap up in a second here. We'll have some time for questions. This week, we're going to have this recording tomorrow, hopefully sometime tomorrow. So if you want to re-listen, you can. And then after this, weeks 2, 3, and 4, we'll have some pre-recorded videos that are already, they're going to be turned on. I think it's the Sunday of the week before. So starting on Sundays, you can watch the next week's content. And we're really going to be expanding on healthy eating habits and how you might use those to achieve some of what we talked about today. So the week 2 video is going to be in the modules section of the program. So if you go to your programs that are listed in Healthy, you'll see modules listed, and one of them will say Stock for Success, or week 2 Stock for Success, and it should be turned on for you on Sunday. And we'll be checking in to make sure everybody can see that and access it. And my goodness, I think that's it. So I'm gonna stop sharing. I saw some things pop up in the chat. Looks like Marta, you answered one of the questions there. So do we have any questions, any thoughts, anything about what we shared that you want clarification on, something you're excited about, what you're gonna eat for dinner tonight? I don't know. What do you got going on out there? All right, people, don't make me start calling on you. I'm just kidding. We won't run that type of show here, I promise.
Tempted Cindy.
Oh, Marta, man.
Yeah.
Didn't even miss a beat there. I guess Cindy, you're in the hot
Yeah,
seat.
I knew it was coming. It was just a matter of time. In general, I mean, again, a ton of great information, and I'm just excited to kind of, pick my own brain and start, take up my journey again. I've kind of been in a little bit of limbo, but then this gets me all excited. So I don't have anything specific, but I jotted down some things, and so.
Awesome.
But
I'm
again,
loving
it's always a great amount of information. It's just incredible.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. We're glad.
And I'm going to Matt's house for dinner tonight because it looks like he's adding some black beans to his tacos, he said. So it is Taco Tuesday
job.
after all. And I'm pretty sure I talk about tacos in one of our weeks, don't I, Marta? I think I might have reined myself in, but we have tacos a lot in my house, and they are like an unbelievable vehicle for all of the food groups. So
Exactly.
that's cool.
Yeah,
Anything that was anything? Oh, go ahead.
No, yeah, I'll just say, I think this is really good. Like we've all probably participated. I mean, we all work for Wegmans, right? So the nutrition stuff is always available to us, and there's always the emails and signage and stuff going out to customers and whatnot. But like we were saying in the beginning, it was 2015 when I worked with Trish. I found an
Wow,
old email.
10 years ago. Oh my
10.
gosh.
Wow.
And a lot of it's probably similar, but for me, it's good to have like a checkpoint to, the strive for five. We've been saying strive for five for how many years? And, eating fish and putting that in there and legumes and beans and nuts and stuff. But for me, just the way I am, I need to be reminded and of what those things are because I fall out of habits or get into bad habits. So that's what I'm excited about is just regrounding myself in the basics, like you started saying, Kirby, the basics.
Yeah,
So looking forward to making some improvements.
that's
So
awesome. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. And I'll say, I have to remind myself of the basics too sometimes because we're both human. You literally are because you're Marta human, right? But like we have the same thing going on that sometimes, I don't know about you, Marta, but it's like sometimes I'm like, gosh, I just gotta like remember the basics because something's not working. And if we come back to those things, it's usually, I wouldn't say it's easy to reset, but it's encouraging that you can reset with some of these things. So I'm glad to hear you say that.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I
We
have a
love helping. I
question.
mean, we don't, just a second, Holly. I just want to say, we don't get to help people in this kind of format, except when we're doing these. So it gives us great joy to help you
Mhm.
however you want help or need help. And please don't hesitate. If you think of a question in the middle of the week, send us a chat and we'll be glad to answer it then. Okay, Holly.
If you could give me one or two suggestions how to add more legumes to my diet, how would I do that?
Yeah, I just add them to anything, Holly. Put them legumes being lentils, beans, peas, or peas like
Pulses. I always have to look up like
Yeah.
which one's legumes, which one's pulses.
yeah, I think pulses is a word that I don't ever want to use, but um
They're all in the same
lentils, for
group.
example. I use lentils a lot as like a starch, even though they're not really a starch. They have good protein amount in them. But I'll actually make instead of rice, I'll do some lentils and have that as my base, or I'll put lentils with rice or that sort of thing. So that's a fun way, and that can sneak in. I put lentils on top of a salad.
Mhm.
Beans, just whatever you're making, just think, would a bean be good in this? And then add a bean. And it can be any bean, whichever one. I prefer black beans and cannellini beans. Those are the two that I always have on my shelf. Maybe some white navy beans sometimes. Don't give me a lima bean because I'm not going to go near that. But any other of them, I really, really like. So just pick which ones you like. Have them when you watch Stock for Success next week. That could be something you could have on your list
Mhm.
to stock in your pantry. And put them on salads, put them in tacos, put them in burritos, quesadillas. What do you think of, Kirby?
Yeah, I mean, like, so that recipe that I talked about, the beans, or it's like the Tuscan, it's got a long name, and I always mess it up. Tuscan beans and basil pesto and
Spinach.
mushrooms or something. So it's really like a twist on greens and beans. And what I have found why I love it so much is that it doesn't matter what bean I have or what green I have. I just kind of use it. We always talk about using recipes as a framework. So once I realized like, oh, this could go with like any bean I have, and I typically will do kale over spinach. Don't tell anyone, but I don't like cooked spinach. I don't know, like alert depressives, but I really don't. So um I have found, and then it's got mushrooms in there, and sometimes I don't have the mushrooms, so I put in something else. So I think what you're saying is kind of the same idea, is like you're folding it into something that you're already making. And I mean, I do that too with the soups. And also just to reiterate that hummus counts towards that. And when you use it, even though like if you might only use a tablespoon at a time, if you do that throughout the day or throughout the week, those servings kind of add up. And there are really clever recipes out there that people use for beans too. I've actually, when I was a student, I made a black bean spread for pizza. So, and it was great. Like, and you just put a bunch of stuff on top of it. So, I think there's the standard ways plus some of these kind of fun ways. I know sometimes people put them in brownies, but I don't really know if that.
Oh yeah, I've done that before.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
I've
I was
never-
going to say too, Holly and everybody else, that if you go on the Wegmans website under the recipe section and you just type in beans, it'll give you all the recipes that we have that have beans in them.
Mhm.
So that could be some inspiration. Maybe, you know, you can sort of pick some things out of, you know, when I do a look at recipes, I like that recipe and I like that recipe and I like that recipe, and then I kind of combine them,
Yeah.
make my
Yeah.
own thing. Yeah, it's
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Hi, I also sometimes use chickpeas or lentils in pasta. Like
Oh.
Wegmans has a line of chickpea pasta, Banza, or
That's a great point. Yep.
other of the
Mhm.
Wegmans brand. It's also a good way to add protein and fiber,
Yeah.
which I've loved doing.
Yes.
Yeah, and even if you don't use the actual pasta, I just forgot that we do put at my house, we'll add some beans to pasta dishes too. So that's another one where it's like, you would be surprised, especially when there's sauce involved. I feel like you could do whatever you want, as long as you cover it in a bunch of, you know, delicious sauce, you can really kind of start to get used to new foods that way as well. Cool. Anything else out there? Anything that took anybody by surprise or that you have any lingering questions about? You want to get started? Go pretend you're all nodding your heads
Yeah, definitely.
vigorously. Yeah.
I think this is a great idea for a program, and I'm excited to see the success. I think it would be great to roll out on a larger scale. So I'm excited for
Thank
everyone
you.
to start.
I was gonna say, can I record you saying that? But we already are. So there you
I love seeing some new faces here that I haven't seen before, and the folks that I don't know. We're really glad that everyone's here. Thank you so much. And we really look forward to, you know, we won't see you every week, unfortunately, but we will see you at the end if you come on, and we'll be talking to you and chatting with you and all the things. So thank you.
Awesome. Well, if there's nothing else, be on the lookout for something in the chat, hopefully tonight, if I get my act together, and we'll just start our conversation, and hopefully we'll kind of build that community pretty immediately here. So thank you all. Keep checking back and let us know if you have any questions or anything that you want to share. So I hope you all have a good night and enjoy your dinners.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
All right,
Good night.
thanks. Thank
Bye.
you.
Much. Good night, everybody. Have a good one.